Now, before we get into this video, I want to show you something that reframes this entire Epstein situation, all of it, okay? Watch what Peter Thiel said when he was on Rogan, okay?
You were joining this secret club.
Right.
You got to be made.
Yes.
You're a made man in the mafia.
And you get to do crazy things.
No. It's only if we have compromise on you do you get ahead.
That right there, I saw that this morning on Michael Francie's video, the one that's on right there, and I realized, I'm like, we are probably looking at this thing completely incorrectly. Everybody's been looking at this Epstein thing as if Epstein's role was to entrap people and then blackmail them, okay? That's what always made sense to me too. But what Peter Thiel is saying is the opposite of that. It's people voluntarily joining this group of global cabal elites that literally run the entire world together. And the way that they maintain order and the way that they maintain people's loyalty is you have to give them blackmail. So whether Jeffrey Epstein is facilitating making that blackmail happen, whether they're, you know, here, we got you a little kid for you to do this on video with, or who knows what kind of nightmare. Actually, I can think of a lot of nightmarish things that they would do to get into this cabal. But that changes this entire thing. And it also would explain everything. It would explain everything. Because guess what? Okay, if Epstein was the facilitator of the compromising information to get into the most powerful global cabal that's ever existed in human history, okay, and everybody starts sniffing around the Jeffrey Epstein thing, right? You could tell these global, it's like, hey, we got this locked down. They're at a certain point, if you're talking about who we think you're talking about, they're going to be like, you need to shut this down. All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back. So another day, another Epstein story, a couple actually for this video, because turns out Donald Trump was an FBI informant on Jeffrey Epstein, according to Mike Johnson. And it has the internet on fire and the whole world on fire because they're like, wait, what? So the claim that's being made is that, again, Donald Trump back in the early 2000s cooperated with the FBI to make sure that Jeffrey Epstein paid for what he did, right? Now, this is interesting that this is coming out now, given the fact that the story came out yesterday or the day before about this guy, you know, getting from the Trump DOJ getting caught on hidden camera, just yapping. You know, I covered it on Play With Matches. If you guys don't follow my other channel that I do with my wife, Play With Matches, we covered this story, but we're going to cover it again right now. Okay. We're going to cover it again right now. As a matter of fact, we're going to start right there, right now. All right. So watch this hidden camera of, the undercover journalist who is talking about what's really going on at the DOJ related to the Epstein files, or at least what he says is going on. And then I'm going to pose some questions to the group about this dude, the circumstances of this video getting taken, and what he says in general, right? Because I think there's some validity to some of it, and I think some of it maybe not. But also go ahead, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. If you think that this guy looks super shady in his sunglasses on a first date, you know, then you can like this video also. And if you're a man and you didn't like this video, I'll just assume that what you were thinking to yourself is, this guy's really attractive. So, you know, you probably want to like the video. Otherwise, everyone's going to think you're gay. So, just kidding, you guys. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's watch this thing.
Oh, those files do exist.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of pages of files. They'll redact every...
So this is Joseph Schnitt, the acting deputy chief of the Office of Enforcement Operations of the DOJ. Okay, and the files they're referencing are the Epstein files. And he's saying that there's thousands of them.
Republican or conservative person in those files. Leave all the liberal, democratic people in those files.
I think they visited that Maxwell person.
Yeah.
And also involved.
Got transferred to a minimum security prison too recently, which is against BOP policy because she's a convicted sex offender. They're offering her something to keep it on shut.
That was the act.
Okay, so a couple thoughts right out of the gate, right? So there's much more to this video, don't worry. But we're just going to stop and do this thing piece by piece, okay? So first of all, he says that there are thousands of pages of Epstein files, and if whatever they release, they're just going to redact the Republican names and keep the Democrat names public, okay? So let's just say hypothetically that that was true, right? If they're going to do that, I'm out, all right? Like, If they're going to do that, if that's seriously like something that they would do, I'm out, dude. I'm not doing this shit. The reason I ended up over where I am is because that's what the Democrats do. Okay. That's how they played it for years. And as soon as I recognized it, I was like, oh, these people are criminals. Like, these people are liars. They're lying about everything. I'm out, dude. And that's when I went to the side that I'm on. Now, do I think that they're actually going to do this? No, probably not. Right? Probably not. And this dude, actually, let me get to that in a second. So, yeah, I'm obviously not on board with keeping Democrat names in and redacting Republican names. And guess which part of that I have the problem with, though, just to be clear, right? It certainly is not with leave the Democrat names in. It would be redacting the Republican names. You think that you get a free pass with me or us because you're a Republican when we're talking about what, Like, what are we talking about? They're all, well, this particular Republican maybe touched some children in ways that they didn't like. I'm like, and you think that we're going to redact them because they're a Republican? They're like, yeah, it would be good for, it'd be good for politics. It's like, I feel like you don't understand me at all. I don't give a shit about politics, man. I care about kids. And I care about people in power doing disgusting things and then getting away with it, especially when it comes to victimizing children. So like, yeah, no. How about no? Now, again, I don't know if that's true at all. Like, the guy doesn't have any like extra credibility other than historically when people are caught on hidden camera, they are saying things that they would normally not say if they weren't on camera. You know what I mean? But again, this guy could be totally full of shit, because the other thing that I'm picking up is that this guy's a fucking weirdo, Like, this dude's a weirdo. And I even entertained when I was doing my episode with Gabrielle. I'm like, what if this guy knew? Like, what if this guy sniffed out the O'Keefe girl? Like, put private investigators into it and they figured out who she was so that they could then connect with her. And it's like a double cross. And they're like, go on the date with her. And then you plant whatever information that you want out there. Like, this is like some super, super sharp intelligence, maneuver or whatever. Because, like, no one would suspect that unless they're me. And I'm crazy. I just suspect everything is a lie, So he goes out there and he's like, yeah, they're redacting all the Democrats and, redacting all the Republicans and doing this. The other thing about the Maxwell part, though, where he's saying that she got a sweetheart deal because she kept her mouth shut, there is definitely validity to that. And I'll tell you exactly why I believe that is because she was put in a minimum security prison. And you guys remember the video that I did where I went over the leaked audio from her deposition, or from, they had that session where they asked her all those questions. And there was like that 10-minute clip that got leaked, and I ran through it and I was talking about how much smarter she is than the guy who was doing the questioning. Okay. Well, in that audio file, she lies about everything. Like, she literally lies about everything. She's sitting there and she's like, yeah, we're telling the whole truth. And they're all, did you guys have any cameras in those houses? She's like, never, no. That's disgusting. That would be inappropriate. She says the words inappropriate, that would be inappropriate to have hidden cameras places. You're all, hey, but you and Jeffrey trapping a 15-year-old in a bedroom somewhere she's never been with a boy before. And then you guys, put your little hands and fingers all over and in her, like that. That's not inappropriate. I know way too much about you, Ghislaine Maxwell, to pretend like you can use the word fucking inappropriate without me calling, pushing back on it. Inappropriate, really. Anyway, so the point is, though, she lied. She lied about fucking everything. So why is she in a minimum security prison? Why is she there? She's given us nothing. Okay. So that's why when someone goes, yeah, she was put in a minimum security prison for what she didn't say, not for what she did. Well, that lines up because what she said in the recording is horseshit lies, and everybody knows she's lying. Which means she's more afraid of what happens if she talks than what happens if she doesn't,
Acting Deputy Chief of the Office of Enforcement Operations, Joseph Schnitt, telling a stranger about the FBI and DOJ's handling of the Epstein files. Schnitt, who works at a high level inside the Department of Justice...
Dude, shout to James O'Keefe, man. This guy is such a savage, man. He's such a savage.
Goes on to comment on the inconsistent statements, special treatment of Ghislaine Maxwell, and the blatant backtracking on promises of transparency.
And what do you do for work again?
I work for the Department of Justice.
Okay.
Been there like 23 years.
First glance, here's the other thing. first glance, okay, this dude is a homosexual. Okay? Like, this has bare homosexual written all over it. He's got 2 hoop earrings in his ears. He's wearing aviators, and he's got like a manicured beard. Like, do you know a lot of like straight men that are in their mid to late 40s or early 50s that are acting deputy chief office of enforcement operations that have 2 hoop earrings? Okay, that's the kind of thing you get away with when everyone knows you're gay. That's why they don't break your balls about it. Like, I'm actually totally serious. Okay, his entire appearance to me screams that there's something else going on, because this dude is on a date. Nothing about his mannerisms or how he's talking to her indicate that he's hitting on her, and he looks like a homosexual. Just straight up. I mean, I don't know if he is or not, but if he's not, he's doing his best impersonation of a, well-manicured homosexual. So what's he doing at this thing at all?
I'm an analyst. I'll be acting deputy chief of our office for a few months, starting next week. I work closely with all the federal law enforcement agencies and the U.S. attorney's offices, the prosecutors and stuff.
Dude, bottom line, I'm sorry, I'm gonna let him talk, but when a guy is with a girl and there is even an inkling of possibility that the guy could have sex with the girl, it's always there, dude. It's just always there in the conversation. It's not there here. Like, there's something there. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying, I'm not saying it's reasonable to assume that you're going to have sex with some girl you're on your first date with, or whether it's reasonable or unreasonable. What I'm saying is it's always there, and I can always see it. Like, that's the kind of thing I see every time. Like, it's like, all right, they're saying this, but what are they really, what's really going on? And the part that's missing with this guy that is always there is they're always thinking about, how can I advance this with the girl? It's not there for him.
The thing is, it's interesting because I do deal with so many of the agencies, like the Bureau of Prisons, the Marshal Service, the FBI, U.S. Attorney's offices.
Recently, the FBI and DOJ have come under fire for promising transparency, then refusing to release footage and unredacted documents, going directly against the public's expectations and the promises made by Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel. In a DOJ press release, Attorney General Pam Bondi stated, quote, "This Department of Justice is following through on President Trump's commitment to transparency and lifting the veil on the disgusting actions of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators," unquote, and also claimed they were shedding...
And then they're all, yeah, that was before we realized it was a hoax. You're like, it's a hoax? They're like, yeah, didn't you hear what President Trump said? He said it's a hoax. And you're like, what parts of, like, that's the worst talking point of all time, okay? And I just want to reiterate that because I said it on my video. By the way, if you guys are not following Play with Matches, my channel that I do with Gabrielle, which the link is in the description, you absolutely should be. But yeah, it was like, that's what we were talking about. I'm like, why is he saying it's a hoax? Like, that's like the worst talking point ever. You're like, if you want to maintain credibility, you can't tell a lie that everyone knows is a lie, right? And like, dude, if you want to tell me that they spiked your name in the file, right? Like, it's like, oh, we got all this stuff. It's like, they knew I was friends with him, and so they put all kinds of horse shit in the files. It's not true, from like anonymous informants, like they are my enemies, and they, we get the files back. All of a sudden it's like, oh, we have an anonymous informant that says that Donald Trump, pulled out his wee-wee and started, whatever in front of like a fucking like middle school girls like cheerleading team or whatever. Just put complete horse shit in there. You guys remember the Steele dossier? Just, oh yeah, you had a bunch of hookers peeing on the bed, and then there's videotape of it. You think they're scared to just put out bullshit? Of course not. So like, if he said that, he's like, look, they put a bunch of lies in there. Okay, I walked into this. I should have known that they would do this, but I didn't. And now, who knows what's real in these files? I can verify that the stuff they put in there about me is not real. So, what am I supposed to do with that? I have to assume the rest of it are lies also, but it's a Democrat hoax. Is just like, you should have run that one by, usually he's pretty rock solid on, getting his messaging in line, but this one is This is not a good one, dude. Democrat hoax makes no sense.
Light on Epstein's extensive network, only to later claim that Epstein was acting alone, and that the only video evidence they had was of Epstein's personal child porn collection.
Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were.
In the same
she's probably telling the truth, except that she's leaving out the fact that the child porn was of Jeffrey Epstein and kids and a bunch of other people probably with kids. All right, push this forward so we can listen to some more of this guy, though.
Internally, there's a lot of, even within the administration, there's internal conflict.
Oh, okay.
Like, the head of FBI really wants it. Second in command at FBI has been, like, causing problems because he's like, no, these have to be released.
Yeah, so the FBI wants them out.
Yep, the top two guys there do that.
And Bonnie does it.
I don't know what Bonnie does. Bonnie wants whatever job.
Sure.
She's super desperate.
Why is there suddenly
That's interesting because that's kind of exactly how this has come off throughout. Like what he just described is like exactly how this has come off throughout the whole thing, which makes me question whether this guy actually has inside information or if he's literally just parroting things he's seen on television, you know? Like, you really think Trump is talking to more people than Pam Bondi about this when he's telling her what to do? You know? I don't know.
Democrat?
Do you think, like, the stuff with Epstein will actually get released or not at all?
If it does, it'll be heavily redacted and his name won't be in it.
But those files do exist.
There's files.
Yeah.
For sure. There's, thousands and thousands of pages of files. But again, if they're released in any way, it's going to be very redacted. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files, leave all the liberal Democratic people in those files, and have a very slanted version of it come out where it's like, look at what he's doing without releasing any of their bad behavior.
This is James Oak.
Yeah, okay. So this dude, this guy's a partisan, right? Like, this guy's a partisan. There's no scenario where they're going to release the Epstein files and redact only the Republic. Like, it's stupid. And given the fact, again, I will keep coming back to this, that dude is gay, man. That's a gay dude, right? I mean, am I missing this, or you guys seeing what I'm seeing? Because do you know a lot of fucking gay dudes in DC that are like, I am definitely not a hardcore leftist. You know what I mean?
I think they visited that Maxwell person.
Yeah.
And also involved.
She got transferred to a minimum security prison too recently, which is against BOP policy because she's a convicted sex offender, and they're not supposed to get minimum security prisons, which is an interesting detail because she's getting a benefit, which means they're offering her something to keep it on shut.
The difference between a low...
Again, I think, and now that I'm actually watching this, I think that this guy is, I don't think he knows anything. Like, I don't think that guy knows anything. I think he's just talking, dude. I think he's just talking. But now let's move over here, right? This is the Trump is an informant quote. Here's like the super quick quote, and then we'll actually look at the articles that are being written about it, though.
He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
He's telling his truth for sure. Okay, now check this out, right? So let's actually look at this this article that disappeared. Oh my gosh. Look at how they do that. That's crazy. Oh, I got it back, you guys. All right. So Donald Trump was an FBI informant on Jeffrey Epstein, Republican Mike Johnson claims. All right. Let me frame this up for you guys too so you can read along with me. All right. So Donald Trump was an FBI informant on convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, a senior Republican has claimed. He said, okay, we just heard him say all of that. Mr. Johnson's comments come after months of speculation regarding a client list that Attorney General Pam Bondi said in February was sitting on her desk. The Wall Street Journal later reported that Ms. Bondi had informed Mr. Trump that his name had appeared several times in the list, which is understood to have included names of influential figures associated with the sex offender. Yeah. Again, and every time they've talked about this, they've said that there was no, like, he wasn't implicated in any criminal stuff, like, at all. Right. I've heard this line before. Epstein was found dead in his cell in August 2019 while awaiting trial on a number of trafficking charges. His death was ruled a suicide. Okay. What Trump is referencing to. Okay, so he's talking about the hoax thing. What Trump is referencing to is the hoax that the Democrats are using to try to attack him. I've talked to him about this many times. He's horrified. It's been misrepresented. He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. He said when he first heard the rumor. Okay, we heard him say that. Okay, is there any additional information? Like, is there anything like additional related to this, or are we just is that it? I think that's it. All right, whatever. But you guys get the point, right? Mike Johnson says that Trump, and that means that he got that from his conversation with Trump. And I mean, who knows what that means, honestly. That could mean a number of things. But given the fact that the attorney who was representing the victims in Florida, he said the only person that he reached out to who talked to him was Trump, and Trump gave him tons of information, right? Like that, I've seen that video. So this idea that like back then Trump was whatever is just not true. The attorney for all the victims, straight that, who would know better than the attorney for the victims? Okay. Now, obviously there's something shady going on here. I have no idea what it is, but like I said in my video with Gabrielle, dude, there is no way that Trump was abusing kids. I don't believe it, dude. I do not believe it. I don't believe it. And I know people want to believe it real bad, but I don't. So anyway, that's what I got.